What's up everyone, this is Cher talking and welcome back to my channel. In today's video we'll be talking about news and upcoming stuff from us in SaGa UniverSe. First of all, we have a new story chapter 2 episode 11. This one is one of the last ones for Joe's storyline. There's only 2 more and it just got a double status gains for everyone, so it may be nice to farm here. I did a live stream yesterday testing some different builds, but today I will release a video just for farming on this chapter 2 episode 11. We also got an announcement of a new event called Battle Prep All-Star Appreciation Box. This one is related to the new banner, but more into that later. Good thing is that we can see flashed on medals here, so we can upgrade a new weapon, also some armors, and guarantee platinum tickets and more. Well, first of all, don't use your platinum tickets right now because the last UDX banner will leave and we'll get Ottoman and Shendu added to the platinum pool, and we will have a long period of time before we get a new UDX banner. So save your platinum tickets. When they add them to the platinum banner, you should start summoning, but not now. Okay, so now let's go to the banner, and this banner was expected. It's Romancing Festival T260G. It brings 4 different characters from SaGa Frontier 1, Zosma, T260G, or Luigi and Timelord. They buffed these characters, we already have the information. They didn't buff for much, they got some slightly buffs for status and some passives. So I'll give a short preview of all characters, starting with Zosma. Zosma is a hybrid character, much like, you know, Saruri and Wagner's. He needs 2 status like SDR and intelligence. He has a very low dexterity, but at least now we have an upgrade where the character also uses SDR to reach high accuracy, and he deals damage and debuff. Mirage Step is an attack that we saw before with Acelus. This version of Acelus has a very bad intelligence for today's standards, 41%, barely hits any boss now, but we use Mirage Step with this version, this summer one, with 82% intelligence and some bonuses. Well, let me tell you that Zosma has much more intelligence. He has 100% and 17 as bonuses. Not only that, he also buffs his STR and intelligence every time that he attacks, so his damage increases and his chance to debuff increases alongside it. Makes a perfect case for Mirage Step, and he's the best one for intelligence debuff right now in the game. Well, we also have Soul's Word, and this one is a passive that increases his damage and reduces damage when he's attacked. Well, his defenses are pretty bad, 57 endurance and 63 will, so he does take some damage, so 10% reduction is okay. High battle tension gives him 1 more BP, it increases damage too. He gets this 1 more BP because he wants to use Rava Shot 2 times in a row. This is pretty good actually, it's 3 hits and it's a very similar case to Bullet Dance Emilia. Emilia has Bullet Dance with her Lethal Commando version C7 E power 6. It's just the same case, and Bullet Dance has like triple S power, so it's the same case with Zosma. You get double triple S damage, and this is very good. It still does not beat characters like Urpina. Urpina with Crossbreak still does more damage, but this is as close as it gets, with the cost being only 7 and being able to use it twice in a row too. And the last attack is Blood Rage Plus. This one is an Amplify attack, and Slash and Shadow, and debuffs Endurance. Endurance debuff is becoming more important since they are just buffing endurance of enemies to very high standards, whereas in raid bosses this helps increase your score. So, well, you have some rotations here, like using Rava Shot twice in a row, and then you can also start with Blood Rage and then keep using Mirage Step, but that brings a problem since he would just lack BP in some point. But Zosma is used for long fights. He can just wait to use Rava Shot or Blood Rage Plus on Overdrive while he just focuses on the buffing intelligence. Mirage Step is a very good attack because of, you know, being AoE. For T260G, she's a pretty unique character, having high status for endurance, dexterity, agility, and will. And she can be used in boss fights and in farming, but a little restricted in farming and better on boss fights, but specifically on raids. She self-heals and cleanses on the end of turn and reach as much as 45% increasing damage when attacking a weak target. She's all about charge, a new mechanic in global. Let's talk about Big Shot. Well, she attacks with blunt and heat damage, a power only, recovers 3 BP, so this in the end only uses 3 BP, and she starts counting with her energy charge. What happens is that when you are charging, you cannot act. So, it will count the same turn that you use it, but turn 2 you will not be able to act. And then on turn 3 you use enclosing bits. This again is blunt and heat, but this time it's double S power. So in 3 turns you use an A power attack and then a double S power attack. It's pretty common, right? If you just want to do damage over 3 turns, T260G will be underwhelming. But it's all about going for further than that. When she uses enclosing bits, she also gets an evasion stance, and then on turn 4 she will have enough BP to nuke with Cosmic Rave, a blunt and heat triple S attack with 73 modifier. This is as high as we can get with triple S. So the damage will be good on 4 turns, but usually when you are farming you only need 3 turns damage. So yeah, this is for raid bosses or for normal bosses. In raid, bosses try to nuke you down, but then on turn 3 you are still on evasion, so you will not get nuked, and then you will be able to do very good damage on turn 4. I just wish that T260G had a way to increase her dexterity so the damage would just scale, but sadly she doesn't. Another thing we have is Starlight Shower, an AoE attack with blunt and heat damage, B power 23. This is pretty good for the coast, and you can use 2 times on 3 turn cycle, but cannot be used on turn 1 and 2. So this limits a little the builds. But we also got a new character recently, Alosis, that also has blunt and heat cycles, and he can even use this 3 times in a row without as much damage, but pretty close. It's easier to use him instead of T260G. But if you have a fast attacker, it will be very easy to use alongside T260G. With that said, this character is good, but kind of restricted, more geared towards boss fights than anything else. You can still go for full AoE if you want, and if you have this version of T260G. Next up is Luigi. Luigi is a mage with shadow spells, and he brings high intelligence, above average agility, and pretty high will. He self-heals and self-buffs when he attacks, so very good for long fights. His second passive is not as good. It debuffs agility and will from targets. It kind of matches Death Albert when you are trying to instant kill targets, because it reduces their speed, and also decreasing will allows him to have a higher chance to instant kill. But in long fights this is useless because it just wears off fast. Then high battle tension to give him 11 BP on the start. That is good because he can finally use Ultrasonic Wave 2 times in a row with his S style. And this one was limited, but will probably be back pretty soon. And Ultrasonic Wave is super useful in War Tower if you're still having problems there. Then the first attack is Absorb, Shadow and Cold damage, and he heals as well when he uses, so stacking with the first passive, he will be healing for 800 something or more, so pretty good in long fights. Because he buffs his intelligence, his damage just scales off pretty fast. He also has an AoE attack that is Shadow and Heat that can inflict stun. With only 5 BP, this is even cheaper than Princess Ray's stun. Ray uses 6 BP and it's only Shadow, while in his case it's Shadow and Heat, although the damage is a little lower. Then the last attack is Shadow and Cold again, and this time it can inflict Petrify with medium chance. This is super high, and again can be used in some very specific War Tower fights, but it's pretty niche. In boss fights you will not be able to Petrify, and 10 BP for double S power may not be so good, but it's his best single target spell since all of Hilder's versions does not have that much damage. So, best nuke, it's just double S power. You can use an inheritance on his past style, but it does not bring anything besides just having a little more damage for short cycles in single target scenarios. So, he's good for long fights, but there are alternatives if you want. If he also brings something good like stun for AoE, but that may be overkill if you already have a Ray. Now we talk about Timelord. This character here is used in boss fights and also in farming. Very high agility, 99% will help him even be used in evasion strategies, while his intelligence is 103%, that's good enough. First passive is only used in farming. It increases all surviving allies action order, so they have a higher priority to attack before enemies. That's pretty good because some enemies are now just so fast. and he's on the first character to have this available. Then the second passive gives him a medium chance to enter an evasion stance, just like Rock Bouquet, the newest version of Hyundai, and he will also reduce a random enemy's agility. Well, 10% only, and it's only used in boss fights. Could be better, I prefer a healing instead of 10% agility buff. Then there is Overtension. This one gives him 15 on all times, 30 on combo, and 45 on overdrive. Because, yeah, he can use him for nukes from time to time in boss fights. First skill is just like agility buff, can reach as much as 20% on level 99. I do believe that you need to train this to get the max potential. The second one is Time Flow. He just self-buffs for agility and do a power 29 damage. The good thing is that you can cycle Time Flow all the time, since he will never use Delay Order on Manual. This one does not do damage, it's just support. 20% agility is higher than 15 that we get with Peony or with Shira, but he does not do damage, it depends on what you're aiming for. Then the third attack is Chaos String. This is an AoE attack that has a chance to IQ. So if you miss it out on UDX Death, now you have a replacement. He is good for this, but he does not have a cheap AoE attack to use it on turn 2. So he kills enemies, and if there's only one wave, it's good enough. But if you needed something for turn 2, well, he will just use a normal attack. There is another version of Timelord that fixed this in the future that will give him a cheap AoE attack and builds up on different builds as well, like debuffing agility with damage instead of just support. But this will be very late. So we have all these characters here in this update. I'll be making a full review later, tomorrow close to reset time. It's not a bad banner. It does offer some very good utilities, but you have to know that none of them are meta changing. None of them. So it depends on if you need them or not. Zosma may be good for those that are missing out on AoE intelligence debuff. T260G just competes now with Rook, although Rook seems to be easier to use since he only needs 3 turns to reach max potential, while T260G needs more and becomes a little restricted because of that. Or Luigi brings some utilities for those that miss it, Christmas Ray, and plenty of different ailments if you have his past style. And Timelord brings a new mechanic that can be used in boss fights, but he still lacks something to be prime. So that's it, guys. Thanks so much for watching this video. Let's see here in the comments, are you planning to summon or not? Well, I hope to see you soon in the next video. Bye.